Well, New South Wales has recorded 30 new coronavirus cases in the past 24 hours. For more analysis of the Sydney COVID cluster, I'm joined by Chris Moy, AMA Vice President. Chris, appreciate your time today. Thank you.
G'day.
Let's start with the latest news from South Australia and Victoria. They are now introducing new border rules with New South Wales. Do you think these are justified?
I think they're reflective of the level of concern by the other states about what's going on in Sydney at the moment. So, no, I don't think so. I think that there is actually significant worries about what's going on in Sydney at the moment, because essentially it is kind of high alert at the moment, and there is a significant uncertainty, which is leaving things very, very worrying for I think everybody in Sydney and also outside.
Well, do you think that we need a little bit more perspective? I mean, 30 cases today from more than 28,000 tests. Our contact tracing is world class in New South Wales. Do you think New South Wales Health is handling this pretty well?
Look, let's put it this way. There is actually really some good news. The good news is that the cases seem localised at the moment, and that there doesn't appear to be people turning up sick elsewhere at the moment. And they do have world-class contact tracing, and they have got QR codes, which have been really useful this time. And I think overall, there's been no evidence of that. The sewage testing kind of shows that everything's occurred after probably December the 10th. The flip side is there is significant uncertainty about the head on tail on this. What I mean is we don't have the source case, so therefore you don't know at this stage how far back this goes, and if there are branches going off elsewhere in Sydney that we don't know about, and also that they're getting in front of it. They aren't totally in front of it. Now, I know they've talked about 28,000 tests, but to give you some perspective, in Adelaide during the recent cluster, they got up to 17,500 tests. They do need still even more testing. So anybody who's got any symptoms at all, please get tested. You need to get tested, because we need to pick up if there's anything outside of the northern beaches at the moment. So look, I think what I'd be saying is that, look, at the moment they're taking a very stepped approach, and I understand that, and I think that's, reasonable given they obviously have the most information. But it is possible that other states might have got even harder in these sort of situations. So it's, I suspect in Adelaide they may have gone harder at this early on, not so much relying on contact tracing.
In the past few hours, we've seen the introduction of stricter rules now for Greater Sydney. Do you think that we will go into a stricter lockdown? What can you see playing out over the next few days?
Well, I think it's uncertain. That's the problem. I think I say this again. The way I describe it at the moment is we know that there are cases in the most of them are in northern Sydney. But if I could put it like in weeding terms, if you're weeding out the garden, you really need to be able to get to the base of the kikuyu weed, because you want to see whether there are other, once you get to the base of it, then you can work out if there are other branches. At the moment, they haven't done that, which is different from what happened last time. I know last time they did a fantastic job with the Western Sydney hotel, but the big difference there is they had the index case, the first case, so they could actually work out all the branches that came off that person. This time they don't. So until we actually have some certainty for that, and until we get really a good amount of testing and a few more days of testing within Greater Sydney and make sure there isn't any other cases and that it's localised to northern Sydney, there is this worry coming into Christmas, and unfortunately, there is some chance things get worse.
Residents in Greater Sydney are now being encouraged by the government to wear masks until at least Wednesday. Is that a good move?
Oh, yes, please. Please do it. I mean, it seems like a small thing to do. Really, This is the time we really have to turn up the physical distancing, the hygiene, the masks. Pretty much people should be wearing masks all the time. Follow the rules and don't go out if you don't have to at the moment. It really is the time to do it, because I think with the uncertainty, one wants to be optimistic and still hopeful that things become much clearer and that we can go back to a relatively normal thing after Wednesday. But there is some chance that it goes much worse, and we'll have to, and then things will have to be ramped up, unfortunately, as far as restrictions. So the more that people can do to do their part, the better the chance that the Christmas COVID Grinch doesn't have to arrive in Sydney.
Yeah, of course. Now, look, let's head overseas. I'm really keen to get your thoughts on this new strain of COVID in the UK.
Oh, look, I think we've been talking about the fact that, the virus has been changing very slowly over a long period of time. If you want to go to a website, it's called nextstrain.org. It actually shows you graphically how it's been changing over time. And that's why it allows you to genomically sequence. That means check the barcode or check the sequence to see that it's been changing in different parts of the world. But there hasn't been a lot of convincing evidence that it has changed materially in terms of infectivity or making people more sick or maybe becoming more benign. But I think now there's evidence in the UK that there is a strain now that appears to be significantly more infective. That the data they're getting is it looks like it's 50 to 70% more infective. Now that is of concern, obviously, because obviously it can spread more quickly. There is no evidence that it's more serious. It could even be becoming more benign, and that's one of the things that coronaviruses do. They get less serious over time, so hopefully that's the case. And I suppose the other thing is that everybody's wondering is, there's the vaccine, but there's no evidence about whether it will affect the vaccine at the moment.
Well, speaking of the vaccine, in the US, there have been some allergic reactions to the Pfizer vaccine. Do you think that's a sign it was too rushed?
No, look, I think we've always known that the Pfizer vaccine is actually really effective at producing an immune response. That's the whole point. It's trying to get your immune system to develop antibodies. And you may have heard at the very start there were 2 cases of people who had previous anaphylactic reactions, severe allergic reactions, who developed a similar reaction to the Pfizer vaccine. I'm not totally surprised that that's the case. It just means that we need to watch and learn about who are the people we need to probably be much more careful with the Pfizer vaccine, because it's extremely effective at producing immune response if you actually look at the mechanism. So it's not something we should be worrying and thinking that this is a failure. But in Australia, we're in a great position. We get to learn about what's going on as they take it out to the community.
We are certainly in a good position. Chris Moy, appreciate your time today. Thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure.